Hello, third graders. Today for social studies, we are going to learn something new. So we were learning about communities, about rural communities, suburban and urban. And today we're going to look at different kinds of landforms. Now, landforms are how the land on the top of the Earth's crust is formed. So we're going to be looking at 2 a day for social studies for the next couple of lessons, and then start comparing and contrasting the different kinds of landforms. So let's go ahead and begin. So like I said, landforms are part of the Earth's crust and how it is laid out. So the first two we're going to look at are mountains and hills. Now, mountains are tall, rocky forms with steep sides. There are plates on the surface of the earth that move slowly. When the plates run into each other, mountains are formed. So there's 2 plates. When they run into each other, if I can make myself any bigger. Here you go. So there's 2 plates on, tectonic plates is what we call them. And then when they go together really slowly after time, ends up creating a mountain. A hill is a landform that is higher than the surrounding land. They form by a buildup of rock and sand. So over time, as rock and sand start building up, then that forms a hill. Hills are not as tall as mountains. They are also made differently. Now we're going to go on a quick Google field trip. So we're going to go all the way to Tokyo, Japan and visit Mount Fuji. So here we are in Mount Fuji. Now you can see this really tall mountain has a big hole in the middle. Okay, so some mountains are also volcanoes. They might not erupt, they may be dormant, but most mountains are also volcanoes. So here is Mount Fuji. As you can see that it looks really tall, you can see the steep sides all around it. It gets so high that it snows at the top, so there's some snow at the top. So let's go ahead and describe this. And as I am typing these in, I would like you to type them in on your class kick. So it is tall, has steep sides, and snow at the top. Now we're going to look at a hill. A hill. So remember, hills are different because they are made by build-up of rock and sand. So we're going to visit Chocolate Hills in the Philippines. Chocolate Hills in the Philippines. So let's go there. So these are the Chocolate Hills in the Philippines. Now you can see that they're kind of rolling. They're not super steep. You could probably walk up them just fine. They have a lot of greenery on them, which is very different than how the Mount Fuji looked. You probably would have to get some really good hiking shoes or use tools to hike up there. But the rolling hills have some flat areas, but just mounds of pieces around. Sorry, there's someone mowing right outside my window. So mountains and hills, let's see, hills will describe the Chocolate Hills. So they are rolling hills with lots of trees. There were a lot of trees on those hills. Now at the bottom, we're going to compare using similar and different. Now in reading, we're using compare and contrast. So we are going to compare how they're similar and contrast how they are different. How are mountains similar to hills? How are mountains similar to hills? Well, they both are higher than the surrounding land. And the reason I found that so fast was that I used some of my evidence where it says that hills are landforms that are higher than the surrounding land. And when we looked at mountains, that was the same case. Now, how are mountains different from hills? How are they different? They are different because hills are made from buildup of rock and sand, but mountains are made from plates moving. Go ahead and write this on your class kick. And then starting next week on Monday, we are going to look at mesas and buttes, two different kinds of landforms.